Welcome to the Silhouettes of Success podcast with your host, successful entrepreneur, broker, and business mentor, Amber Weitzer. Because success comes in all shapes, sizes, and styles, the Silhouettes of Success podcast is shining the light on industrious women with a collection of curated conversations of intentional inspiration designed to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, feed your soul, and gift you with actionable insights directly from inspirational, everyday women who've shown tenacity, grit, and grace, having taken on the challenges in their lives and business and won. Remarkable, down-to-earth, and relatable, Amber and her guests will share with you uplifting and extraordinary real-life success stories, motivational ideas that just might help spark something within you. With the deepest desire to serve you, help you grow so you can begin to shine the light that will illuminate your very own silhouette of success. So, let's get to it.
Hello and welcome to the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success. Our VIP featured guest is fueled by a tenacious entrepreneurial spirit. After a devastating divorce, she fought her way back to a new and improved life that has far exceeded her wildest dreams. Her fierce commitment to living debt-free allowed her to retire from a lucrative sales career in 2018. She started and developed multiple businesses, which allowed her to focus those energies on the world of real estate investing. And we'll get into that here in a moment. In the midst of this busy season, her social media following unexpectedly blew up overnight, and she is an influencer. Silhouettes, let's welcome Sara McDaniel to the show. Hello, Sara. How are you?
Hey, Amber. I am fantastic. Thank you for having me today.
Awesome. Thank you for being with us. It is so wonderful to connect with you, and we are excited to hear you share your Silhouette of Success story and journey. So again, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
So to kick it off, I always love to let the guest share with our audience the early shaping of your Silhouette of Success. We might have touched on a morsel of that in the bio, but let's let you share that background story with the audience.
Yeah, it's a long story, Amber, but I'll make it as short as possible. So I fell in love with old houses on a field trip in fourth grade. So our teacher took us over to Jefferson, Texas, which you might be familiar with. And there was this little seed planted in my heart, in my 10-year-old heart, for old houses. And so I never dreamed that, 30 years later or so, that it would become like my full-time job. And so basically, I was married for 14 and a half years and unfortunately walked through a horrible divorce and thought, I am never going to be happy again. But as fate would have it, that ended up being the source, if you will, to catapult me into where I am today. And so in 2014, I found the house that I'm living in currently. It was dilapidated, falling down, but the minute I laid my eyes on it, I knew that it was supposed to be mine. And so it took me about 22 months to secure it. It was abandoned and not for sale, but I was able to track down the owners. And so I renovated it and started social accounts, Simply Southern Cottage, and the course of my life was altered from that point on. And so now I had the incredible privilege of being featured nationally on television and publications. And the journey is ongoing and there's lots more fun on the horizon. So that's the story in a nutshell.
So exciting. And yes, you're right. That's where a lot of times I say a portion or a part one or part two, we need those next parts because all of this, it's what's next? What's next for us? What's next? And that's what's so exciting. So I love the story, how you had that place set in your heart at 10 years old, and then it found you. It found you when you were ready. And tenacity, yes, because if it took you tracking down the owners and, securing, you knew what you knew, and that was your home.
That's
Love
right.
that.
Yes,
Wow.
it's definitely been an interesting journey. I didn't mention this, but prior to everything I'm doing now, I actually was a teacher and then assistant principal, and then I was a sales rep for about 11 years. And I still have my toe dipped in educational consulting a little bit. But, my intent when I was 45 years old was to be a school superintendent or a curriculum director and still be, in the public school business. But, it's interesting how, things happen. And I love what you said. My love for old houses found its way back into my life all these years later.
Well, and I venture to say that just based on knowing what I know of you to this point, that education component, you are still utilizing that.
I
So you're right.
am.
Yeah.
I am. So even though I'm not,
Mm.
teaching elementary students or teaching teachers every day, I literally am on my social accounts and stories and educating my followers about our community, about home renovation. So I definitely am still using that education background.
Amazing. Amazing. All right. So now that the audience has sampled a little bit about you, and then they, typically at this point, I just envision what we do now is we're researching, right? We're
Yes.
researching the accounts right now as they're listening in. So tie in a day in the life, because as women and successful women and women thriving and doing what they love or what they have to do to get to where they want to do something that they love, best practices are huge for this audience. So the alarm clock goes off. Your work
Yes.
or business day begins. What does a typical day or a not typical day look like for you? Are you
Okay.
structured? Are you spontaneous, creative spirit? Talk to us.
Oh my goodness. So this is probably not the answer that you want to hear, but
I want the truth.
okay. So the truth is, I am very type A. I am very organized, but because there are so many moving parts to my life, there's honestly no rhyme or reason as to how a day looks. A lot of times, I do plan out my day and I have very specific things that need to get accomplished during that day. But because I own so many properties and I have long term rentals and short term rentals, like it is very real for a plumbing issue to arise that, sidetracks my entire day and I don't get anything done that I was supposed to get done. And so, one thing that we didn't mention is that I am just completing and opening a little 8-room boutique short term rental property here in our town. And so, that is consuming a lot of my time. But I do have a staff that I heavily rely on. And so now we're up and running. And so, it allows me to be freed up to do other things. So, with that being said, typically, my alarm goes off. I do like to have some quiet prayer and meditation time, like first thing in the morning with my coffee. Sometimes it gets cut short depending on, what is going on. But typically after that, I do post on my social accounts almost every day, usually at least 4 to 5 days a week. And my prime posting time is around 7 a.m. So I am on my phone. I do what's called a power hour where I'm posting, I am engaging with other people's content, I'm responding to DMs and, building up those relationships with my online community. And then usually, I am then getting on my computer, going through emails, building out content for posting. And I try by 9 or 10 o'clock to go over to the villas or get out and about and visit properties, meet with contractors. And so then the day really goes a lot of different directions. So I'm at properties. I may have interviews or press or podcasts like yours that I have to come home and be on. I'm also doing design planning. I am greeting guests that are checking into Airbnbs. I am making sure that properties are ready to receive guests. And so typically those kind of things go on, during the work day. And usually I try to be back home by 5 or 6. And I'm a terrible example of a workaholic because, I've been out all day. So then I have to come home in the evenings and go through email or finish building out content or, do bookkeeping and try to slide in a little downtime before bed. But I work 12 to 14-hour days every day, like clockwork, sadly, but it's great. I love it.
Amazing. And isn't it interesting when you hear somebody say, "Oh, she's so lucky," or "Oh, look at her." Yeah, it's like that image that everybody sees with the iceberg, right? You don't
Yes,
see all of the in between and the underneath what's going on. So audience, you just captured that.
that's right. That's right.
Right? In your notes, I hope, like I did, because um and it's great. You mentioned, tenacity. I had relentless. I had the word
Yes.
relentless. So yes, just hearing that, you are focused and diligent in your own success.
Yes. And one of my
Wow.
favorite quotes, and I say this on every podcast, and I can't take credit for it, but I heard it one time, and it is so true. And that is, I will work 80 hours a week so I don't have to work 40, meaning that I
Ooh.
will bust it as hard as I can being an entrepreneur so that I never have to go back to working a 40-hour week job again. And nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, I did it for, 22 years, but now that I'm on this side of the fence and just having the freedom and flexibility that I have, like, there is nothing else like it in the world. It's wonderful. It's stressful, like all at the same time, but I work so hard just so I never have to have a W-2 job ever again.
The segment of your journey where you left your sales job
Yes.
and went into the real estate aspect, who influenced you or who helped to guide you to get into the realm of real estate investing, and what type of investing? I know some things, but I'll let you
Sure.
share with the audience the types of real estate investing that capture your attention.
Great. Okay. So I'm going to take it back once again, to that fourth grade field trip. So that seed was planted in my heart. And then in my 20s, when I was married, I remember talking to my now ex husband and just saying, why don't we flip a house? And I don't remember, Amber, like who influenced me in my 20s or where I even knew about real estate or flipping houses. But I just remember telling him, we were both teachers at the time, and, why don't we just buy a house and flip it over the summer while we're off and just try to make $10,000 over the course of a summer? And we never did. I think we were scared. We didn't have the capital. I didn't want to go into debt on a house and then risk losing it. But I will tell you that after I got divorced, this is going to sound hokey, but it is legit. I found a blog called Mr. Money Mustache, and he basically coined the term FIRE. And so FIRE is an acronym for Financially Independent, Retire Early. And part of FIRE, if you will, is, investing in real estate and being an entrepreneur and, capitalizing on the appreciation that real estate affords you. But it also strongly emphasizes like living on a fraction of your income so that, you can not have as high of expenses. And so after my divorce, I really went all in on FIRE, and I lived on half of my income, and I started saving as much money as I could so that I could begin to invest in real estate and make that part of my retirement plan. So if I had to pick, I would say Mr. Money Mustache was a big influence on my life.
An audience, that's not something you hear every day. So
I told you,
take it from
sounds
Sara.
hokey. It sounds hokey, but he's legit. He's really legit.
Yes. I think many might be familiar with FIRE, but again, it maybe not the backstory, or maybe not, the source of that. So
Right.
thank you for sharing that. That's phenomenal,
Of
because
course.
that's why we're here.
Yes.
What and it could be this, I would say chapter 2 for you, or post divorce when you're doing this. What do you maybe wish someone would have told you as you embarked on this segment of your journey? And
Oh my goodness.
it could be earlier too,
Yeah. I
but
mean,
professional advice.
for me personally, like I wished I would have started investing in real estate like when I was 18 years old. I didn't know, and my parents are not entrepreneurs and they are not into real estate. So they didn't know to, teach me the ropes, if you will. I've had to figure all of this out on my own. But if I had to do it all over again, like I would have started investing in real estate much, much younger.
Thinking through, um, you have a lot of wonderful projects, and for your projects in which you're doing, they're quite tangible. So when you are working on a goal or a dream and there's maybe a barrier in front of you or an obstacle, do you have any best practices that you can share with the audience on how to get unstuck? Like what works for
Yes.
you?
And again, this is probably not the answer you're thinking I'm going to give you, but that happened this last year when I was doing my villas. And so just to give a little background, I renovated 8 historic villas here in Minden, Louisiana. They were built in 1931. For some reason, they went out of operation, we think, in the 80s. And so they sat vacant for about 40 years. And I was approached by Cottages and Bungalows and American Farmhouse Style magazine to do a 2022 project house. And so I knew about these villas. I wanted to do them so badly. And because they were able to come alongside me, it made it much more attainable. So, I jumped in with both feet. But I have to tell you, I don't think I knew what I was getting into. I mean, it was massive, and it was emotionally, physically, financially, mentally exhausting, like every way possible. And so back in the fall, like I was literally at my wit's end and I didn't know if I was going to make it. I mean, it was so hard. And so I actually started working with a therapist, and it was the best thing I could have done because I had all of these first world problems, right? And I will
Mm.
spare you the details of those, but they're honestly first world. And I felt bad, about constantly unloading to my mom or my sister or my close friends about it. And I felt like I needed somebody just to hear me and talk through all this and, hear me talk about the financial struggles and the physical exhaustion that I was dealing with. And the imposter syndrome, that I walked through, and getting a therapist to help me through the last like 6 or 8 months was the best thing I could have ever done. So I would highly recommend, if somebody is not knowing where to turn, to definitely seek help from a professional.
Excellent. Excellent advice. And it actually, so yes, that is a great way to answer the question. Number one, it's what you did.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's the truth. But also it goes right into, it's a great segue into the next question that I have to ask you. And as an independent business owner, where do you find support? So you've shared that experience. Do you have external circles or spheres or, groups that you participate in?
I do. So I also have a personal development coach, Dr. Laurel
Mhm.
Emery. And so she was instrumental in 2014 and 2015, like helping me get to where I am today. So I started working with her because after my divorce, I saw all of these opportunities in front of me. Like I had an opportunity to rewrite my destiny and I didn't know where to go. And so I started working with her, and she has been such an amazing resource to me. And, now where back in 2014, 2015, she was helping me define like what the rest of my life was going to look like. Now she helps me like kind of walk out the daily. So different than like a professional therapist, like she helps me map out and create like tangible goals and strategic steps to get me where I want to be in my career. And so she is definitely one. I know we have a mutual friend, Wendy Conklin. So she and I have been personal friends. going way back before cottages, and she is a chair stylist. And so now she's a business partner, and she's also a confidant and a friend and somebody that I can, unload on about entrepreneurial things if I want. And then also, I am in a lot of Facebook groups for short-term rental hosts. So I have 11 Airbnbs, including my villas. I have 8 little historic villas. And so I need advice from other hosts and professionals that are in this business. And so I would say, I have personal connections and then also like professional groups that I rely on.
It's a healthy balance of
Yes.
support. You've got
Yes.
the go-tos and the in-person, and then the wealth of having just a global reach, if you will,
Yes.
through the online support groups. That's amazing.
Exactly.
What do you and yes, let's give Wendy a shout out.
Yes. She's amazing.
Yes, since we're here, yes, can't let that moment pass us by. What or how do you've talked about an exhausting period in your time and the therapist, but what do you do on maybe the daily just to reset your mindset?
Hmm. Again, I'm not going to answer this the way you want. I know I keep saying that. It has been really, really hard the last 6 or 8 months to do that. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, I have been working 12, 14-hour days, just trying to get these villas wrapped up, meeting magazine deadlines. And, plus it's the doldrums of winter. But when the weather is nice, I'll give you a perfect example. Yesterday, it was beautiful here, like 75 degrees. And so after dinner, I took a long walk around our town, and that really like gives me life and just refreshes my soul. I also, when the weather's nice, do a lot of kayaking, hiking. I love to be outside. And so just keeping it real, like I do struggle mentally in the winter because I hate to be cold. You can't really get outside. But I do so much better in the spring, summer, and fall when I can get outside and just refresh and rejuvenate.
Gets that new energy flowing.
Yes, it does.
There is something about not being able to shake that chill. Once you get that
Yes.
chill and it's like, ah!
Yes, that is so
Yes.
true.
Oh, it just yes, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Oh
Yes.
my goodness. All right, share more about Simply Southern Cottage. Talk
Ah,
to us about the company, the inspiration that led you to launch, and some of these outstanding celebratory notable milestones I want you to share with the audience. Talk to us about it.
oh, great. All right. So after my divorce, when I was simplifying and starting the fire process, my very first blog was simplysara.com, and it's still out there. I don't blog on it anymore, but it has a lot of my older content. So it really was about, I'm in this new season of my life. I am, not going to buy clothes for an entire year because I'm going to save my money. I'm getting rid of my cable bill. I'm getting rid of clutter. So it was really all about simplifying my life. And then when I happened upon my house, I started the new blog, Simply Southern Cottage. So my house is located in Minden, Louisiana. We are a small southern town. We've been dubbed the friendliest city in the South, and it's just a cute little home. When I bought it, it was only about 1,200 square feet, but I finished out the upstairs and added another 1,200. So it's still not super large, but it's just, cozy and quaint. And, I thrift a lot of my decor and just try to keep things simple, which is ironic because my life is very far from simple at the moment, but I hope to get back there. But I started this blog and my social accounts thinking, the town will want to follow along, and my mom and my sister, will click like on my pictures. But it was hardly any time after I finished my house that like I started getting shares from Better Homes and Gardens and other large accounts, and then brands started reaching out wanting to work with me, and I'm like, what is happening? Like, I'm a teacher I'm not an interior designer, right? And so slowly but surely, Simply Southern Cottage evolved into its own brand, my own signature Southern cottage, cozy style. I've been published in magazines. We were on HGTV Hometown Kickstart last year. I launched a rug collection with Orion rugs, and there's a lot of other fun things happening, Amber, that I can't tell you about yet. But some pretty incredible opportunities have come my way simply because, going back to that tenacity in my spirit, renovating this house, and being willing to share my story with others.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful story. It's a real story of truth and the bumps and the bruises. And
Yes.
you are coming out the other side and you are just brilliant. So, oh my gosh, milady, I'm watching the clock here. I want to get a couple other questions in.
Sure.
So let's take a quick pause to hear from this episode sponsor. We'll be right back.
Beauty is not limited to our outside appearance. It's inside us. It's our professional lives and our personal passions. It's in our health and wellness, our families, friends, and loved ones. Ask Us Beauty Magazine is content designed to educate, empower, and inspire individuals on all things beauty and wellness. We do this by bringing together people of all backgrounds to share their stories, leaving you with inspiration for living your best life. Whether it's through products, services, procedures, and personal brands, we challenge the status quo. Our mission is to change the narrative, allowing each and every one of us to define beauty on our own terms. Visit us today at askusbeautymagazine.com.
Okay, milady, we are back.
Okay.
Talking through so much of what you're doing and where you've been and how you are just going through it with raw candidness. I mean, you're just sharing with us the real of what happens and how you've been doing. Where do you turn when you need some inspiration?
Oh, that is a great question. So, without saying too much about other things that are going on,
Wink, wink,
I
nod,
know,
nod.
I know. I wish I could just like blow the lid off, but I am working on a design plan right now for a new project that I have not announced yet. And this is so cliche, but would you believe it if I said I'm finding my inspiration on Instagram? My design inspiration is coming from Instagram. And actually, my handsome beau, Hector Sanchez, is a commercial interiors photographer. And so I get to see like all of these amazing homes and spaces that he shoots. And so I've had the incredible privilege by knowing him to be connected with some, pretty amazing interior designers that I'm now fangirling over and following on Instagram. So I draw a lot from social media actually and look at what others have done and try to emulate those spaces by putting my own design twist on it.
Eye candy. Is it not eye
Yes,
candy?
exactly. Yes, you're exactly right. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's awesome. That is amazing. We all crave great resources
Yes.
that help, like we just talked about, whether it be inspire us, expand our minds, uplift, and as you shared so delicately, sometimes get us through the day.
Yes.
So, are you a book reader or an Audible? Do you have resources, mentors? I know you've mentioned in general looking for that space on social media's following. But what would you want to share with us? Because of course, clearly we're going to be sharing your beautiful contacts and your links here in a minute. But is there anything else that you'd want to share with the audience?
Yeah, sure thing. So, again, because my business is so heavily revolved around real estate, so a lot of the things that I read and the podcasts and the books, and the things that I listen to revolve around real estate. And so, if someone is listening and they want like an all encompassing go to real estate resource, I always recommend a website called biggerpockets.com. Now, that sounds hokey again, but it is literally my all time favorite real estate investing resource. So, whether you are looking to build a long-term rental portfolio or a short-term rental portfolio or do flips or other types of investing, you can find all the information that you need on Bigger Pockets. And it was started by a gentleman named Brandon Turner, who, also bought into this FIRE movement and who has built this multi-million-dollar real estate business. And so that is my go-to resource for all things real estate.
Excellent. Thank you. And yes, I know of it. So
Yes.
amazing. All right, my lady, it has been, I don't want to cut this off, but I know clearly the audience knows as well, listening to your day,
Yes.
we've got to keep on schedule
On
here.
to the next thing.
That's right. That's right. It has been so fantastic visiting with you today. And as we begin to wrap up, sharing the promise of keeping our audience in tune with intentional inspiration, do you have, you've given us so much and then one quote, but do you have a piece of go-to advice that resonates with you that you'd like to pass on?
If I had to give one piece of advice to your listeners, I would have to say, don't be afraid to take risk. Take calculated risk for sure. But it was a massive risk for me to leave my W-2 job back at the end of 2018. But I knew that I was having these entrepreneurial stirrings in my heart, and I did not want to have a life of regrets. And the way that I saw that is that if all of this goes bad, if I lose all of my properties, the housing market tanks, like I can always go back to being a teacher. I can always go back to working. And so that alone right there was enough to propel me forward to take the risk to leave my W-2 job.
So poetic, so poetic. And when you look at it, you did the worst case scenario and the wildest dreams scenario
That's right.
that you're living, right? Good
That's
for
right.
you.
I
I
did.
love that advice. Oh, awesome.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, my lady. Where can the audience go to find and connect with you on your socials or support you in your continued success? Stage is all yours.
Yes, thank you for asking. So I am at Simply Southern Cottage across all social accounts. But let me give a shameless plug for my real estate website, and that is Minden, MINDEN, MendenStays.com. You can go to Menden Stays. You can see all of my short-term rentals, and you can book a stay to come see us at the friendliest city in the South.
Perfect. Perfect way to wrap up. Sara, thank you so much for sharing your silhouette of success. We'll just say part one. How about that?
Thank you. Sounds great.
Because there were enough teasers. It sounds like we're going to need to catch up again.
More
okay,
coming.
Perfect. Love that. You are a shining light and inspiration for us all. So thank you with full gratitude for spending time with us.
Thank you for having me, Amber.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silhouettes of Success podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on all the new episodes. We are here for you and with you. We encourage you to share this podcast on all your socials and pass on the light to help illuminate another silhouette of success. To find out the latest ways to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, and gain actionable insights, subscribe at thesilhouettesofsuccess.com or connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We're grateful that you tuned in. Remember, you are exactly where you need to be, right here with us. This is the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success.